Hey guys, today I wanted to do a breakdown and analysis of the recent paranormal activity video that I posted. Now, I was going to do this whole analysis as part of that video, but there were so many points that I wanted to hit, so many different bits of activity that I wanted to talk about, that I just thought it'd be better off just having its own video to really go into detail about it. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to start from the beginning of the video and try to work through as chronologically as possible, breaking down each bit of activity as it appears. So the first thing that I noticed is an orb that comes swooping in from the left hand side. Now every time I mention an orb in an analysis or in a main video, somebody jumps in the comments and tells me how it's all dust or it's bugs and stuff. But for those particular people, just look at this sequence of events before fully judging this as just dust, because I think the sequence itself might change your mind. So the orb comes swooping in from the left hand side and actually pivots on its axis and heads towards the top of the stairs. Now, a couple of seconds later, the LED motion sensors come on at pretty much the exact same time, and the speed the orb was going, it would make sense that they would pretty much activate around the same time. There wouldn't have been much in it. A couple of seconds after that, there is the first Connect skeletal figure that looks as though it's actually sort of stepping up the stairs, like just on the brink of the Connect's view. It looks as though it's stepping up the stairs. It disappears. A couple of seconds later, it reappears, stood on its side, almost like, to me, it feels like it's just sort of looking at the lights, like the LED motion sensors have just flicked on, and it's wondering what the hell's just happened. Now, obviously, all the while you've heard the footsteps creaking away. It starts off with like a door creaking in the living room. I didn't have a camera in there, so I didn't see what it was, unfortunately, but it sounds like a door's just creaked on its hinges. They make their way up the stairs, and then as it actually makes its way across the landing towards the spare room in here, I cut to the thermal camera. And now I cut to this for a very specific reason, because if you actually look, and it's very faint, it actually looks as if there are cold footsteps that are sort of slowly appearing on the landing. Now it's hard to tell because there is actually a heating pipe that runs directly across there and into the bathroom. You can see the bright red glow, but on kind of either side of that heating pipe, there's like cold spots start to appear. Now they don't appear like in magical footsteps, they kind of more or less appear all at the same time. I don't know how that works, but that's just something I noticed. If you look at a before and after, you can really tell the difference. Now surprisingly, the cold footsteps aren't actually the highlight of the thermal camera's captures. What really caught my eye is about 20 seconds later, on the guitar that's leaning against the wall, there is a cold spot that just sort of wiggles around then disappears. Now, from playing around with the thermal camera after, I know that it works kind of like a laser thermometer, so it's possible that what you're seeing is actually a reflection from the guitar of the spare room, and whatever cold spot was being visualized was actually around like where the computer is, that kind of area. And so you get this weird sort of cold dot that wiggles, like it's not visible at any other point in the video, as you can see from the live view, but it wiggles about, and it only happens once the footsteps have actually reached the spare room. So I thought that was really interesting. And so after the little cold spot disappears, there is another skeletal figure on the Connect, this time about halfway down the stairs. You can tell it's much closer to the camera because it's much bigger in the frame, and it kind of looks like it's almost like it's taking a step, or it's kind of lost its balance. It's moving really fast, so it just sort of snaps in and out really quick. And what interests me is obviously as soon as that Connect figure's disappeared, the LED motion sensors come on again. So they're definitely reacting to something that was in that space. And I think overall, as an experiment goes, obviously very, very successful. I don't think there's very much else that I could have caught that could have improved the amount of activity that I captured. I mean, I wish I'd had a camera in the living room to see what that creak was, and maybe one in here to see what that cold spot was that was moving around. But aside from that, it caught the full relay. You got the orb, the LED motion sensors Connect, footsteps on the landing, weird anomaly in here, and then they made their way back down again. And it's like, just the whole sequence was absolute perfection. Like, I couldn't have asked for anything more aside from the Connect figure doing a full walk up and down the stairs. Like, I think there's very little else I could have done to improve it. So what I want to ask you guys is, what do you think of the Connect figure's movements? Like the fact that it seems to disappear whenever there's sort of a quick movement on the camera. Like if they're stood in one place on previous experiments, they've just stayed there. They sometimes stayed for 20-30 seconds at a time, but then as soon as they're like taking a step or they're moving from side to side, it sort of just, it snaps in and out really quick. And I'm starting to think it's because of that movement, it just can't track it very well. Like waving left and right, it's caught it in the past, but a full step, I don't think I've ever seen it. So let me know what you think anyway. I really do appreciate your opinions. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I'll post any and all activity as and when I get it.